about that. That'd be something cool. Yeah, a nice job. All right.
That's fairly notable hiring announced yesterday. Curious what your connection to Sean Snyder is. How far do you guys go back, and how did that all come about?
Really, as far as we go back, is probably 3 weeks that we had any personal connection and interaction. But I know kind of where you're going. I guess the topic of Coach Snyder joining us in some capacity was kind of floated around a little bit last year. You know, as things were you know, just in its infancy and some conversations, and it didn't even get where I was really involved then. He had the opportunity to go to Illinois for the season. And you know, and his relationship and past relationship with Brett Bielema and all that kind of, you know, it was an opportunity for him. And when we had a chance now to revisit and look at some situations, he came down a couple times, had some talks, and we were able to you know, bring him on board here yesterday.
What exactly will his role look like with you?
I think there'll be a lot of things he's going to help us with. Obviously, his experience with special teams will be first and foremost, and with specialists, and you know, Ty Woe's still coordinating it. The guys are involved there. Aaron Miller, Zach Barton are, you know, our analysts there. He'd kind of be in an analyst type role with them. He's going to be doing some analyst type things with our defense as well, some things that we had talked about. And then of course I think he'll be with, you know, Rob Iannello and Michael Painter in some areas. You know, Rob in our recruiting, obviously in some things in the state of Kansas that we want to continue to work to get better at. You know, Coach Snyder was in operations for a while, so I'm sure there's things there that we can use his resources. He's been involved in renovation and facility improvements, so you know, that was one in our second conversation that I said, you know, I'm sure you've gone through some things that can be beneficial, and that. So all those things holistically, our Kansas relations and things like that as a whole. You know, I just think it was too good of opportunity not to explore this, and a chance for us as a program to get better, and knowing myself that there's things that I have to continue to work on to be a better head coach, and to take some of these experiences of what he has been a part of, his time at USC. There's a lot of things that, obviously, we play Illinois the next 2 seasons, so way too many positives not to explore this.
Have you had any past connections or dealings with his father, Bill Snyder?
No, you know, a little. Not you know. I received a really nice note from him, as he's probably well known for, is, you know, a handwritten note, but short upon the arrival in the summer of the first year, I received a note. But very, you know, I've met him, but that's really about it. But I'd go way back to my times as a graduate assistant at Wisconsin, about the same time that, you know, Coach Alvarez was putting that program together. He many times, if it wasn't Lou Holtz or Hayden Fry, there was a Coach Bill Snyder reference a lot of times about different things. So, you know, the name and what he did to build that program. Obviously, you know, my time in Omaha and Lincoln, there's things that kind of connect that way too, that kind of been there. So I have great respect for what's been done there.
You mentioned the high school relations part of it in terms of recruiting. Just how much do you expect Sean to be involved there, and how much do you think that will help?
You know, that's still to be determined. I think it's probably more philosophical right now in some things. We'll see. You know, only our 10 assistants and myself can go on the road. So, I mean, there's rules and restrictions on some things, but there are things that our guys who are in these other roles can be a part of. you know, he's been in this state a long time and knows a lot of people, and also sat in a lot of recruiting meetings and things like that, and even the other places. You know, I've said before, Brett Bielema was, and I'll say it again this fall, you know, really reached out to me and helped me when I first got the Buffalo job. Knew him when I was in Wisconsin at Whitewater, and he was with, you know, running the Badger program. And there's things there that I think are probably also going to be things that kind of tap into. I always say that some of our newer guys, when they join us, I like to learn and hear how other things are done. So.
Did anyone specific suggest Sean to you at all, or did you seek it out?
Suggest as of him, I guess, in what way?
Like being a part of this program?
Well, you know, I don't know about being part of it, but roundabout ways, I guess there are people that, I think a year ago, Rob Ianella was the one that had mentioned it first to me in some capacity. You know, I don't remember exactly how it came the second time, but Colin Sexton, who played played a lot of special teams for Coach Snyder, was one that, you know, as conversations started going, there was kind of multiple people there that kind of was where he was. I wasn't sure about, because he was kind of filling in for a coach at Illinois that was on leave, so it was a kind of a limited appointment, and where that was going, I just wasn't sure what was next for him, and as we were kind of working through things. So
I know you guys have kind of gone after, you know, special teams hard in transfer portal this past offseason, and Sean obviously has a very impressive resume on that front. What do you think you can do to help develop that area of your team?
Yeah, well, you're restricted in that role, what you can do on the field, but it's input schematics, and like I said, Aaron Miller came to us a year ago from Rutgers, and he's been a great addition. Zach Barton was at Kent State, and, you know, probably through special teams completely flipped the game against us, that we played against them, and it's probably, unfortunately, one of the tougher games I've ever probably had as a head coach, and big part of, you know, some philosophical things there, Taiwo. So, you know, the biggest thing is we're heading down, you know, in the changes we've made already. We want to make sure that we supplement that without, you know, changing 180 in a philosophical approach. That said, his time, his experience, his reputation, he's going to have, I think, valuable input, and that's one thing I think with the names I just said, what we do, how we do it. You've heard me talk about alignment and things. That's going to be important. I think we have a great staff of guys with controlled egos that understand that it's for the betterment of the program. And I think when I talked to all those three names, I said, you know, and I approached that this could be a possibility, and they said, why wouldn't we? And that really says a lot about them. I think it's going to help us kind of, you know, we can, you know, it's more manpower a little bit too. You got a chance to put it out there a little bit. So I know he'll make contributions, and you know, we'll continue to. But here we are, 12 in, and he's joining us now. So, you know, to make a bunch of changes with 6 days left of spring is you know, a little tough to do.
Coach, where's the competition at place kicking? Charlie's the guy a lot of us knew from Blue Valley, he was at Nebraska last year, and he seems to be one of the guys kind of in the mix. How do you look at your group in that role?
I'm very, very pleased where we're at with that right now. Today was pretty challenging with the wind and things like that. You know, Owen Piper Curtis is a guy who continues to kind of, because he's the biggest, strongest of the bunch. But Seth has done a nice job, very consistent, and so has Charlie. It's really close. It's going to be a good battle in camp. Tabor Allen's still there, but you know, he's you know, I like when he focuses on kickoffs, but then it gets into you know, how many do you travel with on the road? So we've got to make sure that everything is, as well as the kickoff game is there's competition. Jacob Urchilla is rehabbing right now after surgery and hasn't hasn't and won't partake in anything this spring. But the 4 there is, it's charted every day, it's looked at, and I like where we're trending. I have no definitive answers right now, but as you said about Charlie, he's been very consistent. Really like what he brings us. Bill Bush, who was special teams coordinator at Nebraska last year, when Charlie went in the portal, he reached out. We thought Charlie maybe had, we'd have a chance to get him back this way, but really thought that he had if Bill would have stayed on staff, that he had a future there. He thought in his mind, so he hasn't disappointed us in that area at all.
Casey may be the most fun guy to watch at practice. He's had starring moments in the last couple of years, but he still approaches every moment in practice like a walk-on in the way he gets after it, and the way he's constantly getting noticed. What's the benefit team-wide when you see a guy that has a resume now, but he looks like he's still the hungriest guy out there?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the foundational makeup of a young man and how he goes about it. I think says a lot about that he's not resting on any laurels, especially how we use him, but yet, we don't, he's probably still the old throwback, fullback type of guy, but in our system, he's more of a tight end, so he's kind of always having to prove himself. I think, having Andy Kolnicki as his position coach really helps because, obviously Andy's been able to vary our personnel group, is how we use guys, but I think Andy does a good job as anybody to make sure that guys are squared away, focused, and humble as they go about it with that, and always working on something. But, I think the thing about Jared, if you ask the players on this team, he's a lot more than making one catch in his career, and he may not always look the part for certain things, but he's a really good athlete, and he makes a lot of plays, and he'll be a key part of the offense for sure.
Lance, any takeaways from the scrimmage today?
Again, I think as our defense is mixing some personnel and packages together, you're starting to see a few things come together. Again, we're thin in defensive end right now. We're thin at running back, which really kind of puts some different things in perspective. I like where I know we're going to be deeper than we were a year ago in the offensive line. The thing I like the most that Scott and Andy and I took, spent about an hour yesterday talking about mixing and matching some of these guys, and now starting to play some other spots. So talking to guys a little bit more about, okay, here's your primary spot, but here's your, this is your cross training spot. What do I mean by that? Okay, if Bryce Leipold is going to play right tackle, left tackle may be a secondary spot. Okay, Michael Ford's going to probably play all 3 spots interior-wise. RJ's probably going to play the 2 guard spots. Kobe Baines may just play on the right side. He might be a right guard and a right tackle. Okay, Logan Brown might play both tackle spots. Okay, and Pooney might, Dominic might play on the left side, left guard, left tackle. Okay, so we're going to start working that. Spencer Lovell's really starting to find, I think, his comfort in our offense, and he continues to work hard and showing that he can help us. So as we're looking at all these spots, what that does is when we have anybody out for any reason, like Bryce Leipold, who's been out the last couple days, is we can still have a chance to put what would be our 5 best linemen on the field. And that's always been a priority for us. I talk with Scott about it a lot in every August of where's our mixing and matching, that sometimes if you rated your offensive linemen 1 through 10, and if one of the guys get hurt, I don't know if it's right now the guy who's maybe in the 10th spot needs to be the guy that's really playing in the 6th spot. So we got to be able to do that. Our guys know that, and they embrace that part of competition. So I think that's one that we've seen. Being outside in the conditions, I thought has been good. Probably something I need to challenge our team more about. I thought we handled that well. Thought our receivers made a few plays today in that. LJ made a few nice plays. So that's probably in a quick snapshot without watching it.
Coach, could I ask another sort of quick snapshot question? We've heard a lot about how having a month of practice and then a bowl game would help building, sort of a tier system, a progression where one team builds on the other. Are you seeing some of the results from that this spring in terms of the overall progress that you want to see?
Definitely. I think, again, it starts for me with retention. Okay, I watch from the time we break a huddle offensively. How many times there's that little pause. I'm, right or left. Where am I going? A lot more second nature of where we're at, the expectations of where we're going in practice, how it works, what we're doing, small things of from the fundamentals of are we thudding up and wrapping up? Are we tagging off? All those things are making it. But I've seen guys like Jalen Dye, we've talked about, is some of the backup safeties. Guys that might have been banged up at certain points of the season continue to get better. I'm trying to give you guys some different names. I look at Tommy Dunn and DJ Withers at defensive tackle, and the confidence and progression that they continue to make. Cornell Wheeler's a linebacker. I think that's really had a nice spring. And probably since break, I think he started to catch my eye a little bit more. And I just think they have a tendency to do that based off of those practices because there's just a little bit more confidence off the comfort of knowing what you're doing. And, now we've got to be able to take that and probably talk more next week with you all about it is, taking that, putting it back into the weight room to gain more strength and speed confidence while we be at the same time, taking what we've learned and get ready to put it on the field again in August.
And if I could ask you one more snapshot type question. You mentioned Coach Snyder's experience with facility development. Just from the big picture, are you liking what you're seeing and hearing in terms of the progress for the physical plant?
Yes, I have some more meetings coming up, I think, as we, leave spring here that I think they want me to be part of. Been very pleased and appreciative of, because some of this, as we know, in everything in today's, materials, timeline, work, the whole thing. We're moving quick on some of the renovation part of it. And then what becomes actually new is even more exciting. I feel very comfortable with what I've been able to give input on, which I appreciate from my superiors, and all those things are going to make it better. But yeah, it should be exciting. Not sure how soon some of this is going to fully be shared, but the little bit that they do share with me, I can tell you, I think we'll all like it.
I'm curious with Jalen, what have you seen from him this spring in terms of progressing with his arm?
Yeah, there was a part of the spring we were limiting the beginning for various reasons. Partially was the injury, but just watching. But again, there's some times where he's starting to make some throws now. Again, the total comfort level of what we're doing offensively is what you see, and I'm seeing him sometimes. Sometimes he's making probably. I don't want to say riskier throws, but he's more confident of putting the ball in places where maybe when guys are covered that he's either going to drop it in or put it on a back shoulder. You can see the next step as he kind of continues to go here. And I think, again, through summer development and everything, it's going to be, again, exciting to see number 6.
And Taiwan Berryhill is someone you've mentioned a few times this spring. We talked the other day, talked about the broken bone, playing with it. Him last year, what did you just learn about him as a person and a football player?
Watching him gain confidence in the system and in himself. I think there's part of that I think the game's starting to slow down for him. And that's exciting because I think he's really talented. When you look at, just he's got good size, his thickness, speed, all of that, and part of it was knowing what he's doing and then doing it confidently, and it's kind of neat to see. I think, him and guys like Romello and Jeremy, I'll miss a few, but OJ, when you watch guys kind of, because when we jumped into this thing in May of that year, you don't know, sometimes, and it's a mistake of mine probably, is sometimes you think they've all been here the same amount of time when you walk in. You don't know this guy's been here so many months and this guy's been here so many years. Well, then you kind of watch, but then you start seeing them just grow and mature as young men, grow and mature physically in the weight room, and then grow and mature on the football field. And I think you're seeing some of these guys do that, and it's really neat because they grow so much as a man, that from confidence. It could be academic confidence, it could be just personal physical development confidence that gets them out there and all that. I think Taiwan fits that for us.
Anything else for Coach?
I got one. Coach in the last 20 years, probably fullback, tight end, not emphasized as much, and yet that's a big part of the offense. And either the tight end you can flex, put him in the slot, fullback, or you can H-back and move around, and they're productive positions on offense for you. Why are those spots that are still important in being able to make the offense so diverse and difficult to defend?
Well, I think you kind of hit it there at the end. Is difficult to defend is when you can use motion and shift and create some other stresses through those two things, through splits, alignment issues. But it really goes in, it's hand in hand for us, and this is what I think Andy and the offensive coaches do a great job, is the complements off everything and to try to use these things to our advantage. I also think it's whether it be this part of the country, but we always felt that wherever we've been, you can find a productive, football player that kind of fits not just our style, but who we are and things, that want to work at it. And you mentioned, Jared. I think, Mason Fairchild fits that. I think Trevor Cardell does some really good things in using those guys, and you can find ways to be productive, but they also have to embrace the part they're going to allow us to help run the football. And that's going to still be where it starts, and then play action and other things start to come about off of that. And that's why sometimes even, we're not always going to run by people, but we're going to have people open. And that's where those guys are so important in being disciplined and fundamental in what we do, so it makes everything kind of, tie in together. Okay. Thanks.